Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are working on the 5th part of our 7-part rainbow series. And today we are going to be working with the color blue, one of my absolute favorite colors to work with. Very calming. We're gonna be kind of going for a water vibe today. So really excited for this one. I am just going to quickly go through tools and guide marks. If you guys have done my previous videos in the rainbow series, you might be able to skip this part because you probably know how to do it by now. But I am going to go through the whole process from start to finish. And we will start now by going through the tools that I will be using. So I will be painting on this 10-inch wood canvas that I got from Michael's. I will leave a link in the description for these. And the rest of the tools can be found on my Amazon shop. I will also leave a link for that in the description of this video. That can also be found by going to my website, which is thoughtfuldots.com, and click on the Tools I Use tab, and then you will be able to shop my tools directly. I will be using a 16-point mandala stencil today to draw these on. A compass. This Bressarth white charcoal pencil. And then nail stylus tools. I will leave a link in the description of the video for a size chart for my specific tools. And then you can use that size chart to convert to whatever set you are using. I will be using dotting rods by Happy Dotting Company. These conveniently have the millimeter size right on the handle, so you guys can follow along if you have this set, or you can use the millimeter size to convert to whatever set you are using. And I will be using brushes. These are US Art Supply. These also have a little number on the handle, so I'll be sure to let you know what number I'm using. And we can just quickly go through paint. So I've already painted this black using FolkArt multi-surface satin in pure black. And I always paint these the night before just to give it all night to fully dry. Sometimes if you paint it and only give it a couple hours to dry and then go do your guide marks, sometimes the paint is still tacky and you can have a hard time getting the lines to show up. So I always just paint at night and then let it dry all night so that by the morning when I'm ready to paint, I know that it's good and ready to go. So colors. So I have this Royal Navy. It's a little bit on the dark side, so I will lighten this up with either a light blue or some white. Calypso Blue. Indian Turquoise. Peacock Teal. And then this FolkArt Color Shift Aqua Flash. And DecoArt Metallics White Pearl. So these are all of the colors I will be using. Feel free to substitute any of them for colors that you already have. And I'll be mixing paint up in this paint palette. And then we will be using some mirrors. I don't really know what shape yet, but usually I'll do like the diamond shape or triangle. I also have some squares. But if you do not have these, then feel free to substitute. If you don't have the diamond, and again, I don't know which ones I'll end up using in the design, but if I use the diamond and you don't have them, then you can just use a paintbrush to draw or paint on a diamond shape. And these are about 1 inch long and 1/2 inch wide. So you can just paint your diamond shape with paint and a brush. And then these are, I always forget, I think 1/2 inch. Yeah, about 1/2 inch for the triangles. Okay, so we can get started with drawing our guide marks on. We are first going to find the center. Just putting the ruler on. I know it's 10 inches, so I'm just marking half, which is 5. And then I'm just gonna go around and do the same thing. Okay, so 3 out of 4 hit right here. So I'm just going to use that one as the center. That is just a guesstimate. And then I'm gonna grab this pencil. It needs to be sharpened. And this camera angle might get a little funny just because it's zoomed in, so it might look weird, but so I'm putting the pointy end here and then bringing this all the way out to the very edge. And then I'm flipping it around. And we just want to make sure that it's hitting at the same point on all 4 edges. And that's pretty dang close. So I'm going to use that as our center. And then I'm going to grab this stencil. And you want to make sure that your stencil is going, it has one line going north, south, east, west. So these ones and these ones. And then we're just kind of doing our best. We want to line one of these diagonals going right through that corner. So it doesn't have to be exact, but we want our pattern to be lined up on this square canvas. So now I'm going to hold and just start making those. This pencil needs to be sharpened, but it's too short to go in my electric sharpener. Oops. And I'm just going to use this one because it's sharper. And I'm going to use, I have this 24-inch ruler. So we are just lining this up, and we are going to extend these guide marks all the way out to the edge. Excuse me. And that's what I meant by we want the diagonal guide marks to go through the corners. Oh, sorry, just hit that. And I just like to blow off the residue so that it's not smearing everywhere. All right, and then I'm just going to pop this back over. And I'm going to make one set of guide marks. These guide marks are a tiny, tiny bit bigger than 1 centimeter. So there's 1 centimeter, and then there's our line, so slightly longer. So I'm going to extend these out slightly longer than 1 centimeter. And now we're going to put this pointy end in the center. I actually like to make a hole, so I push it pretty good in there. And then we put our pencil on the first line, and then we are just extending out these circular guide marks. The ones that are closer to the center are a little bit hard, but it gets easier as we move out away from that center a bit. I'm also trying to keep this at an angle so that you can see it, but it slips off the center less if you're doing it straight up and down. And then I'm just bringing this all the way out to the edge. I want to get just one more right up against that edge. Okay, so now we have our guide marks and we can mix up our paint. So I like to start dark to light. So I'm going to start with the Royal Navy. Really pretty color, but I can tell that will probably dry a bit dark, which we don't want. So I'm just going to keep pouring, then we'll go lighten that one up. Calypso Blue. Actually, hold on. Dark to light. I'm I'm really weird about the order of my colors. Okay. Actually, next we'll do Calypso Blue. Indian Turquoise. If you don't have Indian Turquoise, you can just add white to Calypso Blue to get a lighter shade. And then Peacock Teal. And then our color shift. So color shift is what I'm going to use for the center dot. So I have to pour a lot in there. Okay, so there's our palette. So we're doing, it's a rainbow series, but it's also a chakra series. So we're on blue, which is like a lighter blue. So these blues are gonna be my focus. The other ones will be kind of accents, but I do wanna lighten up that dark blue. So I'm actually just gonna add some Indian Turquoise, or you can add white. Let's just see how that looks. I want there to be more true blue tones versus teal. I just want teal to kind of be an accent. So that's, I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. Oops. I'm a messy mixer. I'm gonna clean that up because it's gonna get all over my hands. So I'm going to start I'm gonna grab the largest set or largest dotting rod in my set, which is 15.5. And this paint, the FolkArt color shift, might be a little thick. I just need to, looks okay. I'm gonna try it. When you lift up, there's like a peak underneath. That's how I know it's a little bit on the thick side. But I think it might be okay. So that made a good circle, but you can see there's peaks, but it's okay because we're gonna smooth it out. But I just want to keep adding paint on top. I want more. I want it nice and thick. Okay. And then I'm going to take a stylus tool and just kind of smooth it out. So there we have our center. And let's see here. So I'm gonna go from the lightest to the darkest and then probably end with teal. So I'm gonna start with the larger end of the yellow. Actually, I'm going to start with pearl. Pour some of that pearl. So we are just going to start our first row. And our focus here is just trying to make all of these dots the same size. If you notice your dots getting progressively bigger, then the paint might be building up on the end of your tool. So if that happens and they're getting bigger, just wipe your tool off and start fresh. So we're just doing our best to make them all the same size and then all equally spaced apart. And as we get towards the end here, I'm just kind of eyeballing to see about how many I can fit there. And I think I can fit 3. So I want to go up in size. So I'm going to go up to the large end of the white tool. I always forget to clean my tools off before I start a new tutorial. So these ones have all this paint buildup. So this was good sizing and spacing. So now on the next row, I'm gonna go in between each dot from the previous row. And I'm gonna be using the lightest blue color. And let's see. So we're just going in between each dot. So we want to go, when we do these rows of dots, we just want to go up in size on each row, up in size and tool, and that will help fill in any gaps. If you're going in between each dot from the previous row and somehow get off and you're no longer able to fit the dot in between each dot from the previous row, I recommend just continuing your row and not like worrying about it being in between each row from the previous. Sometimes it's hard. I'm just wiping the tool off. We want to go up in size again, so I'm going up to the large end of the blue stylus tool and going to the next darkest blue, Calypso Blue. Okay, now we're gonna go up in size again to the large end of the green tool. Again, I have so much paint buildup on my tools. Okay, and we're gonna go to the darkest blue. And we are dotting in between each dot from the previous row again. Okay, and I'm also noticing that the center dot was off a little bit, so the pattern is pulled over more this way, and I can tell by looking at the circular guide mark, I can see the design is farther on this side and there's more space on this side. So we will slowly need to even that out just by slowly bringing the pattern more on that direction. But it's a very slow correction. I'm gonna do one last row. I'm gonna use the same size dotting rod, the green and the Peacock Teal. And I will just be going in between each dot from the previous row. Okay, and there we have our last row. So now I'm just thinking of what pattern I want to do. There's so many things we could do. I'm going to use the 5.5 tool and the Calypso Blue. And I'm going to dot on every vertical guide mark. And then I'm keeping that spacing issue in mind. We have less space over here, more space over here. So I'm gonna try to like get all these dots close to this circular guide mark, which means there'll be a little bit more of a gap right at the top, but it will even out the pattern. So we're just slowly trying to correct that off-centered pattern. So these ones, since the design is pushed more this way, these blue dots I pulled more this way, and then these ones I'll do my best to get as close to that ring. We pretty much want all of the dots to be right below this circular guide mark. But we also don't want it to be too obvious. So it's slowly starting to correct itself, as you can see. Okay. I'm gonna do the lightest blue. I'm gonna take the large end of the blue stylus tool, and I'm gonna dot just at the tip of each of the larger blue dots, and we're just putting this dot right at the tip and keeping it on that vertical guide mark just to keep our pattern nice and straight. And then we're gonna take a small dotting tool. I think the, oops, the larger end of the yellow. Let me just do one first and test out the spacing. I just want to make sure we have enough room. Maybe I'll use the small end of the yellow tool. So the small end of the yellow tool is perfect. We are just dotting and dragging down along the blue dots. And we will just do that all the way around the board. Okay, I'm gonna get a little risky and try a new pattern. I'm just gonna do one and then see how it looks, and if I like it, we'll continue with it. If not, then we can cover it up and do a new pattern. So I'm gonna start. So we basically want 4 guide marks. So I'm gonna start a swoosh right here. I'm gonna cross 1 guide mark and end at 2. Let me show you. So I'm gonna start with the dark blue. And swoosh, so we're doing so almost the length of 2 guide marks, and then I'm gonna do a shorter swoosh using the lighter blue. So we're kind of just going in that gradient. And then pearl. Oops, I had a little blue on there, but that's okay. So now I'm gonna do the opposite direction. So I'm just gonna do this one pattern and test it out and see how it looks. And then decide if I wanna keep going or cover it up and do something different. I totally forgot to say the size tool, but we are obviously using the large end of the green tool to make a dot, and then the shorter or the smaller side to drag them down. So that set of swoosh is a little bit shorter than that one, but I kind of like it. So now we will have to do every other vertical guide mark, but then there will be some spacing in between that I'm not sure what to do with, but we also can't go right next to it. Part of me just wants to continue and then figure out the spacing issue later, because I think that will look cool. It's just kind of hard to tell. So I'm just gonna do the blue first, the dark blue going all the way around. I'm thinking we could probably do some like brush strokes around to fill in that gap after. We'll figure it out. This is all part of the learning process. Trust the process. It looks funny right now, but I think it will look really cool. Okay, so now we're going to the next lightest color, and we are just making these slightly shorter. I'm gonna pour a little bit more Calypso. Got paint on my hand. So we are just using the same tool for all of these. Large end of the green dot to make the first dot, and then the smaller end to drag it down. Now we're gonna finish off with our last pearl. Okay, next I'm gonna take the small end or the large end of the white tool. I'm just thinking in my head, I know I wanna do some teal here. I'm just gonna dot right in that little gap. And again, we are totally just going with the flow here. This is a little risky on my end because I am doing a whole rainbow series. So I was trying this new pattern knowing that if it didn't go well, then I would have to re-record this video all over again. But I'm okay with that. I feel like it's important for us to play and experiment and not always stay on the safe side. And then I'm going to take the large end of the green tool and I just want to test this. This color shift is a little bit thick. I'm going to thin it out just a tad by adding some matte fluid medium by Liquitex. I'm going to use the large end. I might need a larger tool, but we'll try this one. And I'm just going to make a dot in the center there. So next, I'm going to do a couple brush strokes using a medium brush, number 1. And I just need to figure out what color. I'm just doing a little practice. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's going to be kind of a rounded shape. I kind of want to do the teal. We don't have a ton of teal. So I'm going to do Peacock Teal. And These are gonna start at the same guide mark that the pattern starts on. And just come around like this. Pretty cool. I'm just rinsing off the brush, and now I think I want to do Calypso Blue. I'm just gonna pour a little more. And then we are gonna do these ones slightly shorter. And these should just nicely fill in that gap in between. Awesome. Okay, and this also just leaves the perfect amount of space right there for a triangle mirror. So honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better outcome on this little experiment. I'm glad we did it. Those mirrors will fit perfect right there. And then we are just going to continue on. I'm going to do some swooshes right here using pearl. So I'm using the large end of the green tool to make a dot and then flipping it over and dragging down. And now I'm just going to use the small end of the green tool, and I'm just going to dot and drag some swooshes just right along the sides of the large one we just did. Let me think here, because I do want to add more mirrors. I'm just gonna grab my charcoal pencil. I'm gonna sharpen it. So I'm putting the diamond mirror on the vertical guide mark, and there's this guide mark, and then we have one more that comes all the way out to the edge. So I'm putting the tip right on the guide mark, the second to last guide mark. So we want to have this little space right here left over because we are gonna do a row of dots eventually, I think. So I'm just gonna outline the mirrors on every guide mark. Okay, so now we have all of our mirrors outlined, and I'm just going to grab a brush. This is the same brush we used before. Number 1. This is like a medium bristle brush. And we are gonna do some brush strokes. Again, we want the pattern to end right below this guide mark because we still want to do a row of dots in this last row of guide marks. So I'm starting these below that guide mark. And I'm starting with the darker blue color. And we are just going to outline all of these. Before we get too much further, while I can still reach the center, I want to add some little micro dots. I'll use the small end of the yellow tool. You just want a small dotting rod, and we're just going to dot in between each dot on that last row. And we're just filling in those gaps. Okay, so now we have our micro dots, and I do also want to add some top dots. We need a small rod. I think this 4.5 will work. And I'm just going to top dot the blue dots with some pearl. Okay, I'm gonna grab that same brush, the number 1, and we are gonna continue our brush strokes. And we are gonna go in the gradient, so we're just going to the next lightest blue. So I'm just making these slightly shorter. And I want to leave enough room in between for one more set of brush strokes after this one. Okay, and now we're going to get the lightest blue. And we're just making these slightly shorter. So this is just going to be one big swooshy pattern, which I'm totally fine with. I'm going to take the pink tool and the pearl, and I'm going to do one dot, turn it over, use the small end to drag down. So large end of the pink tool, dot, flip it over, use the small end to drag down. Large end, dot on both sides, flip it over, use the small end to drag down. And we are going to do that all the way around. Okay, and now we're gonna do even more swooshes. My favorite. So I'm getting more pearl, and these ones are gonna be slightly larger. I'm using the large end of the green tool. So these are going the opposite side. Might actually want to make these a little bit smaller. Let me see. I want to be able to fit these ones are going to be larger than the ones that we just did. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to make sure that I have the right size tool. I think this one works fine. You might need to go down in size, but I'm using the large end and I'm going up to this guide mark at the top there, dotting and then using the small end to drag, and then going on either side. Okay, now we will continue on to the corners. And I'm just gonna grab a larger dotting rod. Size 10 looks good. And I'm gonna use the darkest blue. And I'm gonna be dotting on this vertical guide mark that's going right through the corner. And I'm just gonna do a big blue dot right above the petals that we made. I'm going to take the large end of the yellow stylus tool and the pearl, And I'm just going to walk the dots. And we will do this for each circle. I'm gonna use the large end of the white tool and the Calypso Blue. I'm just gonna walk the dots again. And we're just building this pattern. We're trying to build it to come all the way out to the edge here. So I'm gonna do one more set of walking the dots, and I'm just gonna grab the size 3 dotting rod, and I'm going to use teal. And I just wanna make a larger dot. At the tip of each petal. And then I'm going to use the large end of the blue stylus tool, getting some more Peacock Teal. And now we will just walk the dots down. All right, now we're gonna do some brush strokes. I'm just gonna use that same brush, the number 1 medium bristle. And I kind of want to try this metallic, but maybe not. I'm gonna do the lightest blue. And I'm just gonna go thick at the base and then come up into a point. Now I'm going to take the large end of the blue tool and we are going to dot at the tip and then walk the dots down using the pearl. And I just walk them down along the tip of the petal. And I'm going to take that same brush and the Calypso Blue. And again, just thicker at the base, really pushing down and lightening up towards the tip. And I'm now going to take the Peacock Teal and I'm going to go up to a larger brush. This is the number 1 rigger brush, so longer, thicker bristle. And I'm going to take the Peacock Teal. And we're going to come all the way to that outer edge and bring these down along the edge of the petal. So there's not really a ton of space up here, so I'm gonna flip the brush strokes to go thick to thin just to get in that little space there. And let me just think of what color. Maybe the dark. So we're just flipping it the opposite direction, making it thick and then come up thin in that little gap there. Okay, so I ended up doing this whole design right here and didn't like it. So I covered it with black and now we are just going to continue on. So I'm gonna go to the Calypso Blue. And just do some short little swooshes. And now we're gonna go to the next lightest, so the, excuse me, Indian Turquoise. And we can do the teal. And I'm gonna do one more, what color? think we'll do the lightest again. I'm just extending these ones out a little bit further. So I'm going to take the Calypso Blue. So you can start either in the center. This one I'm going to start on the left. Okay, and we can now do our top dot, which I want to do. I'm going to add a little bit more fluid medium to that metallic. And then I'll use the 7.5. You just want a smaller tool than this dot here. And we are just dotting over top. And now I'm gonna grab the large end of the white tool and the pearl, and we are just gonna dot in between each dot in the row of dots that we made. Okay, so we are pretty much done. I'm going to let this fully dry, and then we can erase the guide marks. Then we will varnish and apply mirrors, and then we will be done. Okay, I do just want to add some final top dots on top of these ones. I'm actually going to add some of the Indian turquoise into our pearl and see if I can make kind of a pearly light blue. And we are just going to use a smaller dotting rod. So I'm going to use the size 5. And we are just going to top dot just right in the center of all of these larger dots, going all the way around. And this will really help lighten up that outer edge. And I'm not pushing down all the way, I'm just hovering over the top. So if you like to push down all the way, then you will want to use a smaller tool. And I do also want to add just one top dot on top of the large ones, just to make those pop a little bit more. So that really lightened it up. That looks awesome. I just want to add one more detail. I know I'm always going back, but I really like this light blue that we made. And we're actually in this rainbow series doing 2 blues. We're doing like a blue, this one, and then we're doing a darker blue one. So I really want to make sure that this palette is nice and light. So I just want to add some of that light blue. So I'm just doing some of those top brush strokes over the blue swoosh, just to lighten this up just a little bit more. That also makes it look like it's glowing a bit. And then I'm also gonna do the same thing on this darker blue. Brush stroke, so we're just going right through the center of it. Just adding kind of a highlight. And I'm gonna do one more. I just want to use a little bit of pearl. And do the same thing on that lighter. I'm just kind of doing it towards the end. It's not really even going all the way up towards the tip. Okay, that looks perfect. It just kind of brightened everything up a bit. I might do a little bit more. I'm just always, I think I want to do the light blue though. You guys can always skip these parts, like if you don't want to go in and do this much detail. But I was just looking at this and I like the dark blue in it because it gives contrast, but also I just want this palette to be nice and bright and more of a light blue. Technically, the palette that we'll be doing next is indigo, but it will be like a darker blue with some maybe dark purples in there. So I just want to make sure that they're different and that this one is nice and light and bright. Okay, and those lighter top brush strokes kind of make it look like it's glowing. Okay, now I'm really done. We'll let this dry. Now dry, so I'm going to take a Pampers wet wipe, or you can use just a wet cloth. And we are going to start erasing the guide marks. Now that all of the guide marks are removed, I'm going to take this outside and spray it with 2 coats of this Krylon Crystal Clear varnish. And I just do 1 coat, let it dry for a couple minutes, it dries really quickly. And then I'll do a 2nd coat, and then we will apply our mirrors, and then we will be done. Okay, so this is now varnished, and we are just going to apply the mirrors. Might hear a little background noise, sorry about that. So we are just gonna be gluing these triangle mirrors in this little section right here. If you don't have the triangle mirrors, you can use a brush or a stylus tool to draw a triangle there with paint. It would look good in really any of the colors, maybe pearl, or you could do just like a dot there just to fill in the space, maybe a big dot and then a small dot above it just to fill in the gap. Oop. And I'm using Gorilla Glue Super Glue Gel for these. So I am just placing 3 dots of glue. And these mirrors are in my Amazon shop if you guys are interested. Okay, and now we're gonna do the diamond mirrors. So I am now just going to take a microfiber cloth and just gently clean off the mirrors. All right, you guys know the drill. I'm going to take this outside and hopefully get some video of it in the natural sunlight. But I absolutely love how it turned out. Okay, see you in a sec. And here is the final painting. I absolutely love how this turned out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And if you did, please do me a favor, like this video, share it, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right, we'll see you next time.